He was a pathetic, lonely loser who was betrayed and used as a scapegoat, but he was saved by a hot goddess. Now, he has a cheat leveling system and becomes the strongest adventurer. Long before this nightmare began, there lived a young man named Ein, someone who believed his existence had no value. In his own eyes, he was a pathetic loser and completely forgotten by the world. He was convinced that if he died, no one would care, and no one would mourn him. These thoughts didn't come from nowhere. They were carved into him through constant humiliation and cruelty. Ein worked as part of an adventurous squad, but not as a warrior or mage. He was nothing more than a helper, forced to haul heavy equipment, supplies, and monster remains. The group mocked him endlessly, calling him a garbage collector because he was always carrying junk while they took all the glory. They treated him like dirt, as if his presence was a burden rather than help. After one exhausting battle with a monster, Ein finally collapsed. His body gave out from carrying too much weight for too long. Even then, no one rushed to help him. Once he caught his breath, he forced himself back on his feet. He reminded himself that he still had work to do because the only thing he was good at was evaluation. Evaluation was Ein's sole ability. He could analyze objects, materials, and monsters to determine their rank and value. Unfortunately, this skill placed him at the very bottom of society. In a world obsessed with power and combat, evaluation was seen as worthless, something fit only for low-class commoners. When Ein examined the defeated monster, he noticed something unusual. While its teeth were classified as C rank, the monster itself was only D rank. Removing the teeth was proving difficult, so Ein asked his teammates for assistance, hoping just once that they would lend him a hand. Instead, he was met with cold rejection. The adventurer Zoid and the witch Jolene refused outright. They told him that handling corpses was his job, not theirs. When Ein protested, anger finally bubbling over, Zoid lashed out and kicked him without hesitation, simply because he didn't like the way Ein looked at him. Jolene scolded Ein, claiming that they had risked their lives to protect him and that he owed them absolute respect and gratitude. Crushed and humiliated, Ein apologized. He bent his head and continued extracting the monster's teeth alone, struggling while his teammates laughed at him like it was entertainment. Later, Zoid openly admitted the truth. The only reason Ein was allowed to join the squad was because Zoid didn't want to deal with carrying monster bodies himself. At that moment, Ein realized the harsh reality of his situation. If he wanted to survive in this world, he had no choice but to endure the pain, swallow the insults, and follow these people through the maze. Not long after, the group stumbled upon the corpse of a hunting dog. Ein found it strange. Why would such a creature be here? Zoid ordered him to evaluate it immediately. The results shocked Ein. The dog was B rank, far stronger than expected. Soon after, they found another dog corpse nearby, and Ein's unease grew stronger. According to the map, there should have been only one path in this area. Zoid dismissed Ein's concerns, saying it was probably just a mistake. When Ein suggested turning back, Zoid told him he was free to retreat on one condition. Ein would have to leave his belongings behind, lose his pay, and be expelled from the squad. That put Ein in an impossible position. With such a useless skill, getting accepted into another party would be nearly impossible. Losing this job meant starvation. Fear won over logic, and Ein decided to continue with them. As they moved forward, the scene grew disturbing. Dozens of dead monsters lay scattered across the path. Ein wondered who could have killed so many creatures. If adventurers were responsible, they would have collected the materials. Before he could finish his thought, a pack of massive hounds appeared. Everything clicked. These monsters hadn't been killed by adventurers, they had slaughtered each other. Sensing real danger, Zoid made a decision that stunned Ein. He chose to run, but not alone. Zoid planned to use Ein as bait. Jolene cast a paralysis spell on Ein, freezing his body in place. As they fled, she casually remarked that the spell wouldn't last forever. If Ein was lucky, he might escape. Helpless, Ein collapsed to the ground as the hounds closed in. They attacked him viciously, tearing into his body. The intense pain broke the spell's effect, allowing Ein to fight back desperately. Injured and bleeding, he ran as fast as he could, abandoning his belongings behind him. But escape was impossible. His path was blocked by Zoid and Jolene. They had intentionally cornered him. Realizing he had been betrayed completely, Ein searched for another route only to find a dark, endless abyss behind him. He faced a horrifying choice: be eaten alive or fall into the darkness. Believing death was unavoidable, Ein blamed himself for being weak, for enduring humiliation, and for always bowing to those stronger than him. Accepting his fate, he leapt into the abyss. Instead of dying, Ein woke up in a quiet, forest-like place, his head throbbing with pain. He felt someone gently touch him, then kiss his head. Thinking it was a hallucination, he opened his eyes and saw a beautiful blonde girl standing before him. Moments later, Ein found himself sitting in front of an enormous tree. He was shocked to realize he was still alive and completely healed. Water dripped from the tree's branches. When Ein evaluated the droplets, his heart nearly stopped. They were S rank. The tree itself was also S rank. Ein stood before the World Tree, a mythical source of magical energy believed to have died out long ago. In his world, scientists had searched endlessly for another such tree but failed every time. Yet somehow, deep within the maze, Ein had found one. Thankful for being saved, Ein decided to leave before starvation claimed him. This area wasn't on the map, meaning no adventurer had explored it before. Despite his fear, he pressed forward, armed only with a rock. For a while, the silence gave him hope. No monsters appeared. He began to believe he might escape easily. That hope shattered instantly. A powerful monster ambushed him, wielding a weapon that sliced off his ear and several fingers. Ein realized he was facing an S-rank monster, stronger than all the hounds combined. He fought desperately, but was quickly overwhelmed. Just as the beast was about to finish him, it was crushed by an even stronger creature, a massive bear. The bear blinded Ein with a single blow, then began to eat him alive. Suddenly, a mysterious individual appeared and killed the bear effortlessly. The stranger complained about being forced to save a human. Ein lost consciousness from blood loss. When he woke again, one of his eyes had changed color. He was back at the World Tree, healed once more. This time, the blonde hot girl sat nearby, smiling warmly. Another woman appeared and offered Ein tea, then forced him to drink it. The tea tasted good, making the girl happy. However, the woman warned Ein that if he had any inappropriate thoughts about her daughter, she would erase him from existence. The girl introduced herself as Yuri. The woman, furious but honest, revealed her name as Ursula, the guardian of the World Tree. She explained that her duty was to protect the 9 World Trees and maintain balance. Ein then learned the shocking truth. Yuri was not human. She was the World Tree itself, given form to protect it and represent its will. Her overwhelming beauty came from her true nature. As Ein stared in awe, Yuri blushed deeply. Ursula, annoyed beyond measure, punched Ein and scolded him for using his restored sight in such an inappropriate way. Ein slowly remembers the moment everything went wrong. During the brutal fight with the giant bear, he didn't just get injured, he lost one of his eyes and was pushed to the edge of death. If no one had stepped in, he would have died there. Seeing his confusion, Ursula calmly explains what happened afterward. She tells him that she healed his broken body using droplets taken directly from the World Tree. However, restoring his vision wasn't that simple. To replace the eye he lost, she had to use a portion of the World Tree itself to create a replacement eye for him. She then adds something unexpected. It was Yuri who begged her to save him and return his sight. Hearing this, Ein is overwhelmed and asks why they would go so far just to help someone like him. Yuri shyly admits that she felt truly happy the first time he sincerely thanked her. Ursula explains that almost no one ever reaches this abyss. Anyone who does is usually rescued by Yuri, but instead of showing gratitude, they grow greedy. Once they realize the tree's true identity, they try to steal its leaves and branches to sell them for profit. Ein bows his head and thanks them once again for saving his life twice. When he says that he sees Yuri as his savior, she becomes so embarrassed that she nearly collapses. Ursula, annoyed by the scene, kicks him away once he's able to stand. Still, Yuri doesn't want him to leave immediately. She worries that he'll be in danger again and begs Ursula to let him stay longer. Ursula explains that as the guardian of the World Tree, she cannot stray too far from it, meaning she can't escort Ein out of the labyrinth herself. This clearly saddens Yuri. Seeing her reaction, Ursula sighs and admits she never expected Yuri to care so deeply about a mere human. In the end, she gives in not for Ein's sake, but to keep Yuri from being upset. Ursula decides that the best way to help is to train Ein until he can survive on his own. For the first time in a long while, Ein feels genuine hope. The idea that he might actually escape the labyrinth by his own strength fills his chest with excitement. He rushes toward them, thanking them repeatedly, and promising that he'll do everything he can to become stronger. Later, as Ein walks beside Ursula, he nervously asks if she plans to throw him straight into real combat. She bluntly replies that if they wasted time studying theory, he'd grow old before ever leaving the labyrinth. She then points ahead, but Ein sees nothing but pitch-black darkness. Ursula becomes irritated and reminds him that his new eyes were made from the World Tree itself. Ein says he doesn't feel any different, and she tells him that's because his perception is still underdeveloped. He suddenly remembers the moment the bear crushed his eye and how it felt like sinking into endless darkness. Realizing that Yuri gave him back his sight, he silently thanks her again. When he opens his eyes properly this time, the darkness vanishes. He can clearly see everything around him. Ursula tells him that this marks the true beginning of his training. Without warning, she awakens the same monster that had attacked him before. She orders Ein to dodge every single one of its attacks, using only his unique ability. Ein panics and says his skill only lets him analyze the ranks and properties of monsters and items. But when he activates his magic eye and evaluates the creature, something changes. He can now read its movements and combat patterns. Before he can react properly, the monster strikes, and Ein loses his ear once again. Ursula instantly erects a protective barrier and heals him using World Tree drops. She tells him that no matter how badly he's injured during training, she'll restore him every time. Ein realizes that if he doesn't take this seriously, the pain will never stop. Once the barrier disappears, Ein evaluates the monster again. This time, he understands where it's going to attack and how. Using that information, he barely avoids the next blow. Dodging the strike fills him with confidence, but the moment he gets distracted by Ursula watching him, the monster attacks again and tears him apart. As he's healed once more, Ein understands that arrogance will only get him killed. From that point on, he focuses entirely on mastering his skill so he can survive and escape the maze. After a full week of non-stop combat, Ein's movements improve drastically. He can dodge attacks far more consistently now. Still, whenever he relaxes even slightly, he ends up with deep wounds. Ursula heals him again and tells him that he's finally passed the first stage of training. Now, it's time to move on. She announces that his next task is to defeat the monster. Ein hesitates and admits that he doesn't know how to fight properly. Ursula tells him to rely on his eyes instead of brute strength. She hands him a wooden sword crafted from the World Tree, a gift Yuri wanted him to have. Ursula coldly warns him that if the sword breaks, she'll kill him. Holding the sword, Ein decides to wait for the perfect opening. But when he attacks, the monster easily avoids him. Ursula tells him bluntly that slow attacks will never land. Ein tries adjusting his approach, imagining where the monster will move next, but still fails. Ursula scolds him and asks if all his eye can do is track motion. That question sparks a realization. Ein focuses harder and begins evaluating not just movement, but the monster's entire trajectory. When he activates his full assessment ability, the monster's actions slow down in his vision. Taking advantage of this, Ein strikes and defeats it in a single blow. At first, he feels proud of killing an S-class monster, but Ursula quickly shuts that down and orders him to fight all the monsters nearby. Hundreds appear, and after repeated battles, Ein defeats them with ease. Next, Ursula trains him to analyze monster abilities themselves. She explains that humans can gain new powers through intense practice and experience. When Ein evaluates a monster's ability, something shocking happens. His body absorbs the power directly. Information floods his mind, and he gains the creature's speed. Unfortunately, his weak body can't handle it. He collapses immediately. Ursula heals his legs and orders him to keep running until his body adapts. Ein spends days running, falling, and standing back up. Slowly, his muscles strengthen and his movements become smoother. Ursula reminds him not to get arrogant and tells him he's still not ready to face the giant bear. To help further, she allows him to evaluate her own abilities. The moment he does, she blasts him with fire, revealing that she can cast magic instantly just by thinking. When Ein evaluates her again, he acquires that ability too. After 5 days, he can use magic without chanting. He collapses frequently due to low mana, but Ursula and Yuri continue supporting him. Half a month later, Ein can cast mid-level magic, unleash 1,000 flame spells at once, and control wind magic. Satisfied, Ursula tells him it's time to face the bear again. Nervous but determined, Ein confronts it, no longer seeing himself as the helpless weakling he once was. He attacks with flame magic, uses super speed to strike from behind, and finishes the fight with wind magic. When the bear finally falls, Ein realizes it wasn't weaker, he had grown stronger. He absorbs the bear's power and prepares to leave the labyrinth, knowing this marks the end of his training under Ursula. Before Ein left the World Tree, Ursula said she had one last gift to give him, something Yuri personally asked for. She handed him a beautiful stone and explained that it was a leftover fragment from the tree spirit core. Ein immediately refused. He knew that stone was connected to Yuri's power, and she had already given him enough by helping restore his eyesight. Ursula calmly told him not to worry. She said the stone was only being lent to him. If Ein ever died, the spell placed on it would automatically return it to them. With that, she placed the stone directly into his magic eye. She warned him that one day, he would understand just how terrifying his eye's power truly was, saying it could someday rival even a god's strength. When Ein went to thank Yuri, he was surprised when she suddenly vanished and reappeared right in front of him. She shyly explained that she had planted a part of herself inside his eye, so she could travel with him wherever he went. Yuri said she would support him and help him survive in the outside world. Ein hesitated and asked if Ursula was really okay with that. In response, Ursula kicked him hard and loudly declared that she would never trust her daughter to a scumbag like him. Still, she allowed it. Yuri had lived alone since birth and never knew the outside world. With Ein, she could finally see it. Ursula admitted that Ein had a kind heart and asked him to show Yuri the world through his eyes. Before sending him off, Ursula gave him another gift. She cast a spell on his hand that allowed him to store unlimited valuable items and materials. After that, she handed him a soul sword, specially created for him, and linked it to his eye so it would always belong to him. Ayn could clearly feel the power growing inside his right eye. Ursula warned him that this power also allowed her to keep an eye on him at all times. She strictly told him not to try anything funny with Yuri while she was watching. Before leaving the maze, Ayn asked Yuri if there was anything she wished for. Once they were outside, Yuri quietly said she wanted to see her family, her sisters. Ayn was shocked. He didn't even know she had a family. Ursula then explained that there were 9 world trees. Long ago, they were once a single massive tree, but after splitting apart, each tree hid in different caves across the world. Hearing this, Ayn made a promise. He would help Yuri search for her family by traveling the world and finding the remaining trees. Yuri felt deeply thankful, while Ursula felt relieved knowing her daughter would be safe with someone like Ayn. As they made their way out of the maze, Ayn reached a fork in the path. Suddenly, Ursula's voice echoed inside his head, guiding him to take the left route. She had already marked the correct path using arrows on the ground. A giant snake appeared in their way, but Ayn summoned his sword and defeated it easily. While he was feeling proud, Ursula evaluated the monster and helped Ayn absorb its abilities. Surprisingly, he didn't feel the usual headache. Yuri appeared and explained that she healed him before the pain could start. Ayn felt relieved and thanked her, saying he was lucky to have met her. Yuri became so embarrassed that her face turned bright red. Soon, Ayn stood before a massive door. Ursula explained that this was the final barrier. To reach the surface, he had to defeat the labyrinth boss and claim its core. She warned him that the fight would be extremely dangerous. Ayn grew nervous, fearing he might fail and waste everything they had done for him. Yuri held his hand and reassured him that he would be okay. With their encouragement, Ayn remembered who he was now. He was no longer the weak garbage carrier who ran away in fear. He stepped forward into the core chamber, and the boss suddenly appeared. Realizing how dangerous it was, Ayn sent Yuri back into his eye for safety and charged forward. With Ursula constantly analyzing the enemy's movements, Ayn fought back. The boss's punch felt like a meteor, but Ayn blocked it with Yuri's help. He attacked using his venom abilities, but the boss countered with lightning. Ayn barely dodged and realized this would not be easy. Ursula then allowed him to use her magic. She told him Yuri would protect him if he collapsed. Gathering all his strength, Ayn used his strongest attack, a fusion of fire and wind magic. The attack completely overwhelmed the boss, turning it to ash. Ayn couldn't believe he defeated the labyrinth boss on his first attempt. He knew he couldn't have done it alone and thanked Yuri from the bottom of his heart. He then evaluated the boss's stats and used his power on the core. To his surprise, he could absorb the core's abilities as well. Ursula appeared instantly, explaining that since his eye was now connected to the world tree, she could teleport to him anytime. She studied the core and realized it was similar to a soul core. At Ayn's request, she used it to further strengthen his eye. She told him that future growth would come from defeating more cave bosses and collecting their cores. Once they left the chamber, the door sealed shut. Ursula explained that without its core, the labyrinth could no longer lead to the world tree. No adventurer would ever reach it again, and Yuri would finally live in peace. Ayn exited the maze alive at last. Meanwhile, Ugly Zoid was lying to everyone, claiming Ayn sacrificed himself so he and Jolene could escape. He pretended to mourn Ayn's death to gain sympathy. Midway through his act, Zoid froze when he saw Ayn standing behind him. Furious and shocked, he demanded to know how Ayn survived. Ayn calmly explained that he escaped after defeating the monsters. Zoid accused him of lying, but Ayn exposed the truth that Zoid and Jolene used him as bait. The crowd turned on Zoid, throwing food and kicking him. Ayn stopped them, saying there was no need for punishment since he was alive. He even thanked Zoid, saying that without his betrayal, he would never have met Yuri and Ursula. Then Ayn quietly left, shocking everyone. Days later, Ayn defeated another labyrinth near the capital and upgraded his magic eye again. However, there was no world tree there. Ursula reminded him that finding all 9 trees would take time. Later, Ayn saved a carriage under monster attack. Inside was a pink-haired girl who rushed toward him, calling him her hero. He learned she was Princess Claudia, the kingdom's 3rd princess. She invited him to the palace, but when she tried to hug him again, Yuri stepped in and declared herself his wife. Claudia boldly announced she would become his 2nd wife instead. During tea, a man named Jasper suddenly proposed marriage to Ayn. Jasper explained he was the head of a powerful company called Jinno. He revealed he already knew about Ayn's magic eye and the world tree's spirit inside it. He shared the ancient legend of how the world tree once sealed the Demon King but withered away after losing its power. Ayn finally realized the truth. The world lost the world tree because it sacrificed itself to save everyone. Jasper admitted he had been searching for its core for years and asked to stay by Ayn's side forever. Ayn could only sit there, completely stunned. Ursula suddenly grabbed Ayn and pulled him aside, Asking what he planned to do about Jasper's strange proposal, Ein calmly replied that he intended to turn it down. However, Ursula disagreed and told him it would be smarter to stay close to Jasper. She explained that Jasper had been searching for the World Tree's core for a very long time, which meant he probably knew valuable information about the 9 world trees scattered across the world. Wanting to avoid conflict, Ein tried to find a solution that wouldn't upset anyone. Instead of rejecting Jasper harshly, he suggested that they simply become allies and friends. Jasper accepted this idea for now and even invited Ein and his companions to stay at the royal palace starting that very day. When Ein asked him directly about the 9 trees, Jasper admitted that they were hidden in extremely dangerous places and were nearly impossible to locate. Still, Ein asked him to share everything he knew, confident that he could find them with his own abilities. The following day, Ein, Yuri, and Ursula headed toward a secret labyrinth Jasper had told them about. They hoped this place might be connected to one of Yuri's lost family members. As soon as Ein entered the maze, he reached what looked like a solid wall blocking the path. Ursula explained that the wall was actually made of teleportation magic and told him to touch it. The moment he did, the wall vanished, revealing that the maze was actually a massive forest. Ursula quickly realized the entire area was covered in illusion magic, making it look far more confusing than it really was. Not long after, I noticed Yuri talking to someone he couldn't see. It turned out that Yuri's sister, Pina, was speaking to them through a magical crystal. Pina sounded shocked that Yuri had teamed up with a human and told them she was waiting at the end of the maze. When Ein asked her to teleport them directly to her location, Pina refused and insisted that he walk the maze himself. She warned him that she had already filled the area with traps and monsters and made no promises about his safety. Yuri took this as a challenge and became determined to push forward. As Ein moved deeper into the maze, Pina mocked him for being overconfident and claimed that her maze was the hardest of all secret labyrinths. She expected him to give up quickly. At one point, she assumed he would fall into a hidden pit, but Ursula warned him just in time, allowing him to avoid it easily. Trap after trap failed, which irritated Pina since she had spent a long time setting them up. Yuri casually explained that her sister enjoyed creating dangerous games, but Ein replied seriously that these traps weren't fun at all because one mistake could mean death. Pina then warned him that if he was truly in danger, the maze would force him back to the surface. She also mentioned that a powerful monster was approaching. Soon after, Ein encountered a strange enemy. Ursula identified it as a Ruani, an S-rank subhuman monster. The creature attacked using a hypnotic toxin, and Pina expected Ein to collapse instantly. Instead, he remained standing, revealing that he had resistance to poison. Declaring that he would do everything for Yuri's sake, Ein summoned his sword and split the monster in half using his evaluation skill. Almost immediately, another unseen enemy attacked him. Ein sat still and focused, while Ursula explained that the creature used stealth abilities. Pina was shocked that Ein wasn't injured. He explained that he could disable traps, and that basic attacks wouldn't work on him. Although frustrated, Pina believed invisible enemies would still defeat him. However, with Ursula's guidance, Ein struck back and defeated the hidden monster, gaining its cloaking ability in the process. Furious, Pina sent 2 of her strongest monsters to attack him together. To her disbelief, Ein defeated both with a single strike from the Soul Sword. At that moment, she realized that all her traps and plans were useless against him and felt as if she was facing an unstoppable being. Meanwhile, far away, Zoid arrived at the Adventurers Guild. To his shock, everyone was openly criticizing him for betraying his teammate and using Ein as bait to escape the labyrinth. When he tried to speak to Jolene, she coldly rejected him and told him to stay away. Soon after, other adventurers confronted him, revealing that Jolene had blamed everything on him, claiming he forced her to paralyze Ein. As a result, Zoid was expelled from the guild and warned that no one would ever work with him again. Enraged and desperate to regain his reputation, Zoid decided to take on a dangerous mission alone to prove his worth. He accepted a request to defeat a class monster, even though the odds were terrible. During the mission, Zoid accidentally touched a strange wall and found himself transported into a jungle-like area. He quickly realized he had entered a secret labyrinth filled with unnatural dangers. With no way back, he continued forward only to fall into a deep pit moments later. Instead of dying, he was returned to the normal maze and heard Pina's voice explaining that no one truly dies in her labyrinth. Seeing this as an opportunity, Zoid re-entered the maze, but soon suffered serious injuries from countless traps. Eventually, he encountered a legendary crocodile whose overwhelming power left him unable to fight back. Pina urged him to surrender so he could escape safely, but Zoid refused and kept struggling until he was nearly eaten alive. At the last moment, Ein appeared and defeated the crocodile with a single attack, saving Zoid's life. Both were stunned to see each other again. Zoid couldn't believe that the boy he once mocked as a garbage collector had become this strong. After evaluating the monster, Ein asked Yuri to heal Zoid. Once he recovered, Zoid tried to speak, but Ein knocked him unconscious, telling Pina to remove him from the maze immediately because he had more important matters to handle. After everything that happened, Ein finally reached the chamber where the ruler of the maze lived. The moment he stepped inside, he noticed something strange. Instead of stone walls or traps, the entire place looked like a calm forest. Before he could relax, the ground suddenly began to shake violently. Thinking the land itself was attacking him, Ein quickly flew into the air. That's when he saw the real threat. A gigantic turtle burst out from underground, lifting massive chunks of land on its back. Seeing a monster, this huge made Ein complain out loud, wondering why his luck was always so bad. Still, he gathered his courage and attacked it with powerful fire spells. To his shock, the flames did absolutely nothing. The monster didn't even flinch. In response, the turtle fired a massive sphere of water straight at him. Ein blocked and redirected the attack, but even after that, the monster stood completely unharmed. That's when Ein realized something felt off. He landed on the ground and used a special spell to reveal the truth. In an instant, the giant monster vanished, revealing a tiny, harmless turtle sitting there instead. Ein quickly understood it wasn't a real giant beast at all, but an illusion that manipulated space and perception. Still, when he evaluated the small turtle, the system told him that it needed to be defeated anyway. Ein hesitated. He couldn't bring himself to kill such a weak creature. Instead, he spoke directly to Pina, explaining that he had already figured out her trick, and asking her to count that as a victory. Surprisingly, his words reached her heart. Pina agreed and opened the path to her home. Yuri couldn't hide her happiness when she finally saw her younger sister again after so long. Pina, on the other hand, was clearly annoyed when she saw Ein face to face. However, when Yuri told her that Ein was kind and trustworthy, Pina slowly realized that she had fallen for him. Because of that, Pina made a deal with Ein. She offered him her soul core in exchange for letting her travel with them. Tired of being trapped underground and wanting to see the world, she asked to join their journey. Ein accepted not for himself, but because it would make Yuri happy. At that moment, the small turtle jumped off Ein's shoulder and transformed into a young girl. She introduced herself as Kurohime, the guardian of the planet and daughter of the black turtle, one of the 4 sacred beasts. Ein was shocked to see that even Ursula treated Kurohime with respect and didn't insult her like usual. Ein politely asked Kurohime for permission to let Pina travel with them. She agreed, but only if she herself could come along as well. As part of the agreement, Kurohime handed Ein a philosopher's stone, binding his consciousness to her just like Ursula had done earlier. After that, Ursula gave Ein the core of the labyrinth. With more allies by his side, Ein felt things were finally going in the right direction. Most importantly, Yuri looked genuinely happy and determined to reunite with the rest of her family. Meanwhile, Zoid was drowning in shame. Being saved by someone he once treated like trash crushed his pride. The garbage collector he abandoned was now far stronger than him, and Zoid couldn't accept it. The next day, Ein visited the Adventurers Guild in the capital with Jasper. The stares from everyone made him uneasy. When the receptionist came to assist them, Ein said he wanted to sell the items he had gathered from the labyrinths. Jasper immediately declared that he would personally buy anything Ein sold. When the receptionist checked Ein's identification, she was stunned. The record showed he had defeated countless monsters and cleared multiple labyrinths. She suspected something shady and thought he was trying to trick Jasper. That suspicion vanished when Ein calmly pulled out his stored loot. The entire room went silent. Among the items were materials taken from maze bosses. Some people accused him of stealing them, which made Ein feel uncomfortable and reminded him why he hated public places like the guild. That's when the guild master, Megan, appeared. She scolded everyone harshly for judging someone based on their job and called them idiots. Then she approached Ein and immediately noticed his magical eyes, praising their beauty. After further inspection, even the receptionist had to admit the items were real. Jasper backed Ein up completely, forcing her to apologize. Megan told Ein to forgive them now and educate them later, saying that life becomes interesting when people refuse to accept the fate they were born into. Her words gave Ein confidence. For the first time, he didn't feel ashamed standing there. Megan invited him to join her guild and told him to think about it. Later, while the receptionist prepared his payment, Jasper asked Ein to sell the remaining items from the secret labyrinth. When people heard that, the crowd grew so large that Ein felt overwhelmed and quietly escaped. That evening, Ein relaxed in the bath of his palace, thinking about how strange it felt to be admired. Suddenly, Yuri appeared beside him, completely unaware of his embarrassment. Pina popped in too, teasing him for getting nervous. Confused, Ein asked why they were in the men's bath, only for Pina to explain that spirits didn't follow human rules. Then Ursula appeared and instantly accused him of being a pervert. She threatened to blow him up if he even thought about touching her daughter. Yuri quickly defended him, saying Ein was kind and pure-hearted. Realizing how deeply Yuri cared for him, Ursula lost her temper and launched her strongest fire spell. Ein barely escaped and ran out to the restroom to calm down. There, he found Kuroheim sitting quietly, pleased with the energy of the spirits. Ein told her he felt choosing to protect Pina was the right decision. When he asked about her relationship with Pina, Kuroheim explained that guardians create the spiritual cores, while the girls are the spirits born from them. Ein realized that meant he still had to find 6 more spirits. Kuroheim corrected him, there were only 7. Even though the first world tree had withered, its core still existed. The eldest spirit, Echidna, was still alive somewhere in the world, though her location was unknown. Kurohime asked Ein if he wanted to give up. He refused without hesitation. He owed Yuri too much and wanted to help her reunite with her family, no matter how long it took. Hearing that, Kuroheim realized something important. Ein had a rare ability to draw people to him, not because of power or looks, but because of who he truly was. The following day, Ein decided that instead of resting, he would actively collect more information about the world around him. While he was still planning his next steps, he was caught off guard when Megan suddenly showed up, accompanied by Jasper. Jasper explained that Megan had come for a private request, and Ein was genuinely shocked that she had chosen him of all people. Megan then made it clear that this was a task only Ein could handle. They told him about Behemoth, a legendary dragon once created by the Demon King himself. Long ago, Behemoth had been sealed in a remote region, far away from civilization. Everyone believed it would never return. However, something unexpected happened. The dragon resurfaced and began attacking merchant caravans that crossed the desert routes. Hearing this alone made Ein uneasy, but he was completely stunned when Megan revealed her plan. She wanted Ein to eliminate Behemoth, an SS-rank monster. Jasper immediately warned him that accepting such a mission could cost him his life. Even so, Ein didn't back down. He understood how dangerous the situation was for the merchants and decided to accept the task anyway. Seeing his resolve, Megan officially assigned him the mission and placed her trust in him. Several days later, Ein found himself wandering through a scorching desert. The heat drained his strength, and thirst constantly bothered him. Ursula guided him using her perception and confirmed that Behemoth was somewhere nearby. While analyzing Ein's abilities, she discovered that his powers had evolved even further. He could now absorb enemy spells and convert them into his own energy, along with manipulating air currents freely. Ursula advised Ein to force the dragon above ground, explaining that Behemoth hid beneath the sand during daylight hours. Following her advice, Ein attacked the desert floor with magic, blasting open the ground. The sand exploded outward, and Behemoth burst from below, furious at being disturbed. The sheer size of the dragon left Ein stunned, but Behemoth laughed arrogantly, boasting that he had never once tasted defeat since the Demon King gave him life. Ein calmly responded that he had come specifically to defeat him. Behemoth mocked him, claiming humans were born weak, and that his own strength was unmatched. When Ein insulted the Demon King, Behemoth snapped and launched a brutal assault. Ein used his speed to narrowly dodge the attacks, then countered with precision, slicing off one of the dragon's arms. The dragon was shocked, unable to believe a human could injure him. Behemoth dove back into the sand and attacked from below like a predator. Confident in his tactic, Behemoth swallowed Ein whole, convinced he had won. But inside the dragon's body, everything changed. Ein released all his stored magic at once, tearing Behemoth apart from the inside. For the first time in his existence, the dragon felt true pain. As Behemoth's body collapsed, he stared into Ein's eyes and finally understood his mistake. He had underestimated humans. He admitted defeat and acknowledged Ein's strength before fading away. Afterward, Ein wondered if Behemoth had been evil by nature or shaped that way by the Demon King. Ursula reminded him that regardless of origin, Behemoth had chosen to harm humans. When Ein returned, people admired him openly. Dragons had only ever been defeated by ancient heroes, yet Ein had done it alone. He humbly said that he succeeded only because of the strength given to him by those who supported him. Not long after, Ein was summoned to the royal palace. Claudia greeted him warmly and explained that her father wanted to meet him personally. Ein became nervous when he realized he was standing before the king himself, but his tension eased when he noticed the king's kind and approachable nature. The king thanked Ein for saving his daughter and defeating Behemoth, even bowing his head in gratitude. Ein redirected the praise toward Yuri, saying she was the source of his strength. Impressed by Ein's humility, the king predicted that he would become someone truly important one day. Before Ein left, the king gifted him a special watch marked with the royal crest, granting him unrestricted access across the kingdom. Ein immediately decided to use this privilege to help Yuri search for her family. Meanwhile, Zoid wandered the city, burning with resentment. Everywhere he went, people praised Ein. The same person he once looked down on had surpassed him completely. As Zoid complained bitterly, a mysterious woman appeared. She introduced herself as Echidna, a spirit, and offered to help him reclaim his power. Back at the palace, Yuri worried because Ayn had not woken up yet. Pina brushed it off, believing he was just exhausted, and went out to buy food. Unknown to them, Echidna sensed Zoid's hatred and decided to exploit it. Ayn drifted into a disturbing dream. He relived his past as a disposable worker, abused by Zoid and paid almost nothing. He even saw himself being torn apart by hounds and imagined dying without ever meeting Yuri. In the dream, his own corpse mocked him, claiming his strength was just luck. Ayn woke up shaking, only to see Ursula sitting beside him. She told him he had overworked himself and cried in his sleep. Elsewhere, Echidna offered Zoid a magical eye, promising power equal to Ayn's. Without hesitation, Zoid accepted. The eye was implanted into his forehead, transforming him into a monster. Echidna delighted in controlling him, while Zoid reveled in his newfound strength. He leapt across rooftops, intoxicated by power. Spotting Jolene, Zoid attacked without mercy. When she begged for forgiveness, offering to confess everything, he ignored her pleas and killed her on the spot. While walking toward the market together, Yuri and Pina were chatting when Yuri suddenly remembered the night Ayn had woken up screaming from a nightmare. Thinking about how broken and scared he looked back then, she quietly promised herself that she would do everything she could to support him from now on. Before they could go any further, a massive explosion shook the street. Screams filled the air as buildings cracked and people ran in panic. Without hesitation, Yuri rushed forward to help the wounded, pulling injured civilians away from danger. At the same time, chaos spread everywhere. Hidden above the destruction, Echidna watched with amusement as Zoid, now transformed into a monster, attacked anyone who crossed his path. Smiling cruelly, she whispered to him that if he truly wanted his old life back, he needed to destroy the spirits first and steal their power. Suddenly, Zoid appeared behind Yuri and attacked without warning. Pina reacted instantly, raising a protective barrier around them so they could escape. But Echidna calmly told Zoid it was time to use the power she had given him. With a roar, Zoid activated his anti-spirit abilities, smashing through Pina's barrier like it was glass. When Pina tried to create another shield, he struck her hard, sending her crashing to the ground. As he stepped closer to finish her, Yuri placed herself in front of Pina, buying her sister time to retreat. Zoid grabbed Yuri and began crushing her, shouting angrily that she was stupid for giving power to someone as worthless as Ayn. Just before he could kill her, Ayn burst onto the scene, slamming into Zoid and knocking him away. The moment Ayn analyzed his opponent, the truth became clear: Zoid was no longer human. He had become an artificial chimera, enhanced with powers designed specifically to counter spirits. Zoid attacked again and again, forcing Ayn to rely on barriers just to survive. But it quickly became obvious that Zoid could shatter barriers effortlessly. When Zoid called him by name, Ayn froze. He finally understood this monster was once the man who had treated him like trash. Zoid bragged that he had evolved by gaining soul power, just like Ayn, and then unleashed a devastating punch. Ayn avoided every strike, retreating instead of fighting back. Watching this, Ursula warned him that refusing to fight would only lead to his death. Zoid laughed and questioned Ayn's choices. He asked why Ayn didn't use his power selfishly, the same way he had when he took revenge on someone who betrayed him. Zoid tried to convince Ayn that they were the same, both hurt, both angry, both craving revenge. As Zoid's words echoed, memories flooded Ayn's mind. He remembered being called a garbage collector, remembered his nightmare where his old self believed he deserved suffering just because of his status. Before the darkness could swallow him, Yuri spoke up, telling Zoid that Ayn wasn't driven by hatred. Despite everything he had been through, Ayn had never held a grudge. Ursula stepped forward and told Ayn that his real strength wasn't just physical. He had grown stronger in his heart by choosing to protect others, instead of chasing revenge. She reminded him that kindness and courage had always been part of him even before he met Yuri. Yuri added that meeting Ayn had changed her fate too. Because of him, she wanted to reunite with her family and live freely. Hearing their words, Ayn broke down in tears, finally accepting that he wasn't the worthless person his past tried to convince him he was. Zoid continued shouting that Ayn was still scum deep down, but Ayn no longer listened. He admitted that the world once looked cruel because he was powerless. But even at his weakest, Yuri and the others believed in him. With resolve, Ayn released his full strength. The surge of magical energy shocked Zoid completely. Ayn declared that he would become strong, not for revenge, but to protect everyone who trusted him. Ursula confirmed that Ayn had awakened as a true guardian of the spirits, unlocking their full power. When Zoid charged again, Ayn struck him down with a single, overwhelming blow. Desperate, Zoid begged Echidna for more power. When she granted it, he lost control and attacked wildly. But Ayn ended the fight with one clean sword strike, breaking Echidna's control over him. Instead of finishing him off, Ayn extended his hand to Zoid. Furious and confused, Zoid asked why Ayn still wanted to help him. Ayn answered calmly that helping others never needed a reason. He told Zoid that change was possible, but it had to start by accepting help. Zoid finally broke down and cried. Soon after, authorities arrived and took him into custody. Watching this, Ein realized someone had exploited Zoid's weakness to turn him into a weapon. That night, Echidna returned to the battlefield and recovered what remained of her magical eye. Although pleased that she had learned about Ein's abilities, she was annoyed that Zoid survived. She erased his memories of becoming a monster and secretly vowed to free the Demon King someday. The following day, Yuri surprised Ein by asking for a kiss. She explained it was a sacred ritual between spirits and their guardian. Although Ursula was unhappy, she admitted it was necessary. Ein treated it like a knight's oath. When the others stared, Ursula left the room, warning him not to cross any lines. Alone with Yuri, Ein kissed her forehead instead of her lips. Her level instantly rose, and she smiled brighter than ever, saying she felt so happy she could fly. Elsewhere, Echidna returned to her base and met Baron Falco. She told him the Demon King wanted Ein eliminated. Falco laughed at the idea but agreed after learning Ein had defeated Behemoth. Using a portal, Falco arrived at Ein's home and found him waiting calmly on the balcony. Falco announced himself as a demon noble sent to kill him. Ein casually told him to keep his voice down. Angered, Falco attacked, but Ein struck him down instantly. One overwhelming blow was enough. After analyzing the corpse, Ein realized Falco wasn't targeting the spirits at all. He had come only for him. The next day, Ein headed to the royal palace and happened to meet Claudia along the way. He explained that he wanted to search for information inside her family's forbidden library. However, Claudia told him that no one was allowed inside unless they had permission from both the king and the chief librarian. Ein took out the royal emblem he had been gifted earlier and started thinking about how he could convince the librarian to help him. As he continued walking toward the library, Yuri suddenly stopped. She said it felt like she had walked into an invisible wall and could no longer sense Ein's presence. At that moment, Ursula appeared and explained that a powerful barrier surrounded the library. The barrier allowed only humans to pass through, completely blocking spirits. Even Ursula herself couldn't teleport past it, which shocked Ein. Realizing there was no other option, he continued forward alone. When Ein finally entered the library, he was overwhelmed. The place was massive, filled with endless shelves and countless ancient books. He worried that finding the information he needed would take forever. Suddenly, he noticed a girl falling from a high shelf. Without thinking, Ein rushed forward to catch her. She quickly stepped back, thanked him politely, and introduced herself as Alice. Ein asked why she had fallen, and Alice explained that she had been so absorbed in reading that she lost her balance. Using her wand, she gently returned the book to its place and revealed that she was the librarian. Ein thanked her for allowing him inside the library and explained why he was there. He told her he was researching secret labyrinths to help a close friend reunite with her family. Alice listened carefully, then handed him a specific book, saying it contained everything known about the secret labyrinths. As Ein began reading, Alice casually asked how Yuri was doing. Ein froze, shocked that she knew Yuri's name. Alice calmly explained that she already knew because she herself was also a world tree spirit, and she could sense that Yuri's soul was connected to Ein's eye. After reading most of the book, Ein discovered information pointing to the possible location of a secret labyrinth. However, something felt unclear. Unsure whether the information was fully accurate, he decided to return later and confirm it directly. Outside, he apologized to Yuri for not being able to reunite her with her older sister, yet promising he would find another way. From within the library, Alice secretly watched them using her abilities. Her guardian, Akahane, appeared and questioned why Alice didn't give Ein the book containing the exact location of their labyrinth. Alice admitted she was afraid of the outside world. She lacked combat ability and still held resentment toward humans because she believed they were responsible for Echidna's death. Later, Ein returned to the library and met Akahane face to face. Akahane explained that the library existed in a separate hidden space, completely disconnected from the palace. Only humans could enter because the knowledge stored there protected the kingdom's history. Allowing spirits inside would break the system itself. If Alice wanted to meet her sisters, Ein would have to find her secret labyrinth instead. Ein suggested simply escorting Alice outside, but Akahane warned that Alice wouldn't survive long beyond the library, and didn't truly want to leave. Ein approached Alice gently and spoke honestly. He told her that fear of the unknown was natural. He admitted he had once been terrified too, but he was able to move forward because others believed in him. He promised that if she took that first step, he would protect her and fight any monsters they encountered. Moved by his words, Alice hesitated but finally agreed to trust him. Ein promised to find her labyrinth and return the next day. After he left, Akahane teased Alice, pointing out that she had clearly fallen in love. Alice became flustered, realizing all the signs she had read about love matched her feelings. When Ein returned, Akahane gently pushed Alice forward, encouraging her to follow her heart. Alice finally asked Ein to take her outside. To her surprise, Ein lifted her into his arms and carefully carried her up to the roof. Akahane handed over her core, allowing Alice to travel safely, and considered creating a clone of herself since she couldn't teleport like the others. Once outside the library's protection, Alice began losing her strength rapidly. Ayn placed her on his back and continued forward, fighting through the monsters of her secret maze. When they reached the boss chamber, Ayn struggled because the enemy was highly skilled with a sword. He deliberately sacrificed his own weapon as bait, creating an opening. Using that moment, he landed a powerful kick and defeated the boss. After escaping the labyrinth, Ayn successfully reunited Alice with her sisters. Yuri hugged Ayn tightly, thanking him with tears in her eyes. Alice grew jealous and refused to leave Ayn's side, while Pina teased her nonstop. Ayn ended up trapped between all three sisters. The following day, Ayn was planning his next move when Megan and Jasper arrived, with an urgent message from the king. Megan explained that demons banished centuries ago behind a massive barrier had started appearing again near Rishikaria. Ayn remembered his earlier encounter with Falco, and realized how serious the situation was. Megan told him that he was the only one capable of handling the threat. Ursula questioned why he would help strangers. Ayn replied that he himself had once been a helpless outsider, and he understood the fear these people were facing. He wanted to protect them, just as Yuri and Ursula had protected him. When Ayn arrived at Rishik, he found the village in chaos. A massive multi-headed Hydra dragon had appeared, demanding sacrifices. The villagers prepared to offer a young girl named Mia, claiming it would send her to heaven. Her father couldn't bear it and tried to sacrifice himself instead, angering the Hydra. The Hydra released a poisonous gas that paralyzed everyone. Just as it moved to devour Mia, Ayn appeared and blocked the attack with a barrier. Ursula identified the monster as an SS rank Hydra with both poison and healing abilities. Ayn bought time, while Yuri healed the villagers. Then, in one swift motion, Ayn drew his sword and destroyed the Hydra completely. The villagers were stunned. Some recognized him as the hero who defeated ancient dragons. After absorbing the Hydra's abilities, Ayn accepted their thanks. Although the village leader remained cautious, Mia personally thanked Ayn through tears. Ayn told her he wasn't a god, just someone who wanted to protect others. With that, Ayn decided to meet the village chief and take his next step forward. When Ayn finally reached the village chief's palace, something immediately felt strange. The building looked rich and well-maintained, unlike the rest of the village, which looked worn down and struggling. Even more unsettling was the silence. For such a large and fancy place, there were barely any people around. As Ayn stepped inside, he was greeted by a young man named Nigan. Nigan welcomed him politely and led him into a guest room. He served Ayn tea and some sweets as a sign of hospitality. Ayn tried to be respectful, but the moment he tasted the candy, his face nearly twisted in pain. It tasted salty instead of sweet. Still, Ayn didn't want to embarrass his host, so he forced a smile and stayed quiet. Nigan quickly realized something was wrong and apologized, admitting that he had accidentally mixed up salt and sugar. Ayn laughed it off and told him it was fine. After that, Ayn got straight to the point and asked about the demons that were rumored to be appearing near the village. Nigan immediately denied everything. He claimed that no demons had shown up and said the village was located close to Abyss Forest, a dangerous place filled with monsters. According to him, people probably mistook monsters for demons. He insisted it was all just gossip and asked Ayn to report back to the guild that the village was safe. Ayn wasn't convinced. He said he wanted to look around himself just to be sure. When Ayn casually mentioned that he had defeated the Hydra on his way here, Nigan suddenly snapped. He shouted that killing the Hydra was a huge mistake. According to Nigan, the Hydra had been protecting the village by keeping other monsters away. Ayn was shocked. He argued that the Hydra had been demanding human sacrifices and that he couldn't stand by and watch a little girl die. Nigan coldly replied that sacrificing one person to save hundreds was sometimes necessary. He then asked Ayn if he planned to stay forever and protect the village himself. Nigan went on to say that once Ayn left, the villagers would suffer even more because they weren't strong like him. He claimed that as the village ruler, it was his duty to make tough decisions to protect the land his father left behind. Confused and disturbed, Ayn left the palace. He started wondering if killing the Hydra had truly made things worse. At that moment, Yuri appeared and gently told him to trust his heart. She reminded him that saving innocent lives is never wrong. Inside the palace, Negan sat alone, shaking with anxiety. He was terrified of what would happen now that the Hydra was gone. That's when his consort, Shadow, appeared. Shadow calmly told him not to worry, saying that dragons could always be replaced. However, Shadow pointed out something far more dangerous. Ayn, a normal human, should never be able to defeat an SS rank monster. Shadow suggested that Ayn might not be human at all. Slowly and carefully, Shadow began planting ideas into Nigan's mind. He convinced Nigan that Ayn was a threat to the village, and that getting rid of him was the only way to protect everyone. After Ayn left, Shadow smiled quietly, promising herself that she would soon take full control of Nigan's body. Ayn went to the village border and was horrified by what he saw. The defensive wall was broken, the watchtower was empty, and there were no guards in sight. Monsters could easily walk right in. He tried talking to a local girl, but she panicked and ran away. Ayn realized that the villagers were deeply afraid not just of monsters, but of Nigan himself. Eventually, a farmer explained the truth. Many adventurers and soldiers had come before Ayn, promising help, but all of them failed and left. The farmer believed Ayn would do the same. The farmer showed Ayn a ruined field where crops once grew. Without the Hydra, monsters had destroyed everything. People didn't know whether they would starve first or be eaten alive. Without hesitation, Ayn used his magic. He repaired the fields, rebuilt the wall, and strengthened the defenses. The villagers watched in disbelief. Ayn begged them not to give up and promised to help. The farmer laughed sadly and said Nigan's father once made the same promise long ago. Back then, the village still had hope. After Nigan took over, everything changed. He secretly made a deal with the Hydra, cut the village's defenses, and raised taxes. The farmer admitted that all they wanted now was something to believe in. Ayn looked him in the eye and promised that trusting him wouldn't be a mistake. Suddenly, Ayn's magic eye detected something terrifying, a massive army of monsters marching toward the village. Ayn flew to the top of the wall. Seeing the sheer number of enemies, he knew the wall wouldn't survive a full attack. The villagers were trapped, scared, and unable to escape. Thinking about Mia, the farmer, and everyone who still wanted to live, Ayn decided that not a single person would die while he stood there. He ordered everyone to hide and flew straight into the monster army. His first large-scale spell barely scratched them. The monsters rushed him all at once. Ayn fought relentlessly, crushing waves of monsters and casting spell after spell. Yuri warned him that pushing himself this hard would kill him, but Ayn refused to stop. In the end, the entire monster army was wiped out. Exhausted, Ayn collapsed. Yuri rushed to heal him, but even her power wasn't enough at first. Ursula was shocked by how far Ayn had pushed himself. After some time, Ayn woke up. Mia ran to him crying and thanked him. Soon, the entire village gathered and thanked him for saving them twice. The farmer spoke up, asking why a stranger was willing to nearly die for them, while they had simply waited for death. He admitted that following orders blindly hadn't saved anyone, fighting back did. Inspired, the villagers finally chose to stand up for themselves. Ayn felt relieved. He told Yuri that meeting her had saved him in the same way she gave him hope when he had none. He promised to stay by her side and walk the same path she did. Nigan appeared, furious that the villagers were defying him. He tried to paint Ayn as a demon pretending to be human. To his shock, the villagers didn't care. They said even a demon ruler who fought for them would be better than Nigan. The farmer reminded Nigan of his father, a man who fought alongside the villagers instead of sacrificing them. Nigan clutched his head in pain as memories flooded back. As a child, he admired his father deeply, but he was weak and sickly. Other children avoided him, calling him cursed. He began to believe he wasn't truly his father's son. One day, he saw his reflection in water speak to him, Shadow. She comforted him, became his only friend, and slowly gained his trust. Years later, when Nigan's father fell ill, Shadow convinced Nigan to give him a special herb. The tea eased his pain at first, but slowly killed him. When his father died, Shadow became Nigan's guide, whispering orders and taking control. Now, faced with the truth, Nigan broke down. Shadow tried to force Nigan to kill the villagers. Ayn rushed forward, realizing Shadow was the same presence he had sensed before, just like with Zoid. Shadow attacked Ayn, but he fought back. Nigan finally resisted her control. In the chaos, Shadow revealed that she had manipulated everything, even his father's death. Nigan collapsed in horror. While all this was happening, Ayn tried his best to reach Nigan and talk to him, but it felt like there was some invisible wall between them. Nigan couldn't really hear anyone clearly anymore, and Shadow kept pushing him deeper into confusion. Shadow didn't waste a second. He started breaking Nigan down with words, telling him the most painful truth possible. The medicine Nigan gave his father wasn't medicine at all. Shadow claimed it was actually poison, and he admitted he had changed the information in the books, so Nigan would believe the plant was a healing herb. The moment that hit Nigan, his mind collapsed. He realized the friend he trusted most was the reason his father died. Then Shadow went even further. He told Nigan who he really was, a devil, not some imaginary buddy. Shadow explained his real plan from the start. He wanted to control Nigan's father and use the village to create a route between humans and demons. But when that failed, he switched targets and chose the sun instead, because Nigan was easy to use. Shadow mocked Nigan hard. He bragged that, thanks to him, many humans were already being sent to the demon world. He insulted both Nigan and his father as pathetic, saying they were similar even though they weren't related by blood. He also crushed Nigan's pride by saying his weak body proved he was never fit to lead. Nigan finally broke completely. That was the opening Shadow needed. Shadow pushed deeper until their bodies and minds merged, like two beings, becoming one. Shadow gained full control, and Ayn could tell something had changed. Negan's presence felt different, like someone else was wearing his face. Shadow then introduced himself openly, saying he was a noble seduction demon who had finally taken control of the village ruler. Ursula quickly warned Ayn that Shadow had used camouflage and tricks to fool everyone's senses. Ayn demanded to know what happened to the real Negan. Shadow answered proudly. He took over because Negan was weak, and Shadow kept twisting Negan's emotions until they fused together. Then Shadow blamed Ayn. He said everything was going perfectly. He was deceiving Negan, weakening the village defenses, and sending humans away until Ayn arrived and destroyed the plan. Shadow said that's why he had to step in personally. Shadow also made it clear he wasn't a muscle head like Falco. Instead, he claimed his power was understanding human weak points. He attacked Ayn while talking, and warned him that if Ayn killed him, Negan would die too, because Shadow was using Negan's body as the container. Ayn immediately tried a safe method. He thought he could trap Shadow inside a protective barrier. Shadow laughed at the idea, acting like Ayn was naive. But Ayn was shocked when Shadow used anti-spiritual magic, cracked the barrier open, and told him straight up, spirit-based abilities won't work properly against him. Ayn realized he needed a different approach. He tried to pour out so much magical power that Shadow wouldn't be able to cancel it all. But Shadow didn't give him time. Shadow summoned monsters and sent them toward the villagers. Ayn had to move fast. He rushed to the people, killed the monsters, and then threw up a wide defensive barrier around the village, shouting for everyone to hide. Shadow taunted him again. He said he could keep summoning monsters forever as long as he stayed alive. Then he broke the barrier Ayn created, and the monsters rushed in again. So Ayn changed tactics. He created multiple copies, versions of himself to handle different attacks at once, protecting villagers in many spots at the same time. In the chaos, Ayn saw a monster grabbing a villager. That distraction gave Shadow a chance. Shadow dashed in and delivered a crushing strike, then kept punching Ayn again and again without letting him breathe. Ayn realized he was in danger because he couldn't power up properly while being forced to defend constantly. Ursula warned him that if he keeps blocking and running, nothing will change. Ayn's problem was obvious. He needed to stop Shadow without killing Negan, and that made every move risky. Shadow noticed Ayn's hesitation and leaned into it. He claimed the only way to stop him was to kill the body's owner, meaning Negan. Shadow said Ayn wouldn't do it because he's too obsessed with saving everyone and playing hero. Shadow even tried to convince Ayn, sacrifice one person to save hundreds. Ayn refused. He wouldn't accept that logic. Instead, he tried something different. He shouted, trying to reach Negan with his voice. Shadow laughed and said Negan's heart was already sealed. No one can reach him, Shadow claimed. But Ayn didn't stop. Even while injured, he kept walking forward through the hits. Shadow couldn't believe it. Ayn closed the distance, grabbed Shadow's shirt, and said he still wanted to save Negan and protect the village. Then Ayn slammed him with a brutal headbutt, knocking him down. Inside Negan's mind, Negan was sitting in darkness, wishing a miracle would erase him. He felt like he deserved to disappear after everything he caused. Then faintly, he heard Ayn's voice calling him. At first, Negan didn't want to respond. He didn't want to live, didn't want to face anyone. But Ayn's voice kept coming, full of real emotion. Ayn told him he could feel Negan's sincerity, and that Negan's wish to protect the village was real. Ayn begged him to think clearly and stop giving up. That hit Negan's heart. He remembered the reason he wanted to protect everyone. He wanted to be like his father. He pictured his father surrounded by people, always helping them and making them smile. He remembered his father's last words, and finally started crying uncontrollably. Back in the real village, monsters were still attacking. Then the farmer stepped up. He managed to bring down one monster and shouted advice to everyone. Aim for the monster's eyes. The farmer also realized something important: someone was controlling Negan. Even if Negan caused trouble, they still needed to help him break free. The villagers agreed. They decided to fight together. Inside, Negan was still drowning in ugly thoughts, remembering how Shadow fooled him and shaped what he saw. But now Negan forced himself to face reality. He decided to stand up again and do his job as ruler. Shadow suddenly felt something wrong. He backed away from Ayn and said Ayn's moves were harming both of them. Shadow tried to use one final attack, but his body didn't move like he wanted. That's when he realized the truth. Negan was resisting from the inside. The body started splitting like Negan was taking control of part of himself. Negan managed to break free enough to speak, thanking Ayn for trying to save him. Then Negan made a brutal decision. He stabbed himself, choosing to die so Shadow's control would end and everyone would be safe. Shadow exploded in rage. He couldn't accept that choice. Negan spoke again, and this part shocked everyone. Negan told Shadow he knew Shadow wasn't an illusion. Negan admitted he played dumb because he considered Shadow a friend. He said Shadow betrayed him and used his weakness, but even after everything, Negan still saw him as the one who stood by him when he was alone. Shadow was stunned that Negan still had love for him. For a moment, Shadow almost treated their time together as something real. Then he snapped back and said it was all fake. He told Negan he was just a tool, a pawn. Shadow said Negan's weakness is exactly what let him lose everything and made control possible. Shadow decided to abandon the body and leave Negan to die. He said he wouldn't pretend to be a friend anymore. Negan collapsed, seemingly dead, while Shadow escaped and retreated to rethink things. On the way out, Shadow spotted Mia and decided she would be a perfect next victim. But Shadow didn't get the chance. Ein struck from a distance with his sword and killed Shadow before he could take Mia. Then Ein rushed back to Negan. Using Yuri's power, he tried to heal him and begged him not to give up. But Negan's desire to die was stronger than the healing. Negan stayed trapped deep inside himself, refusing to return. Then something changed. Negan saw a faint light inside the darkness. In that light, he saw his father's hand reaching out. Negan grabbed it, and that became the push he needed. With Yuri and Ein's healing, Negan returned to life. Negan woke up furious. He shouted at them for saving him, saying death was the only way to pay for his sins. But Ein said no, he refuses to follow the sacrifice, one for everyone. Logic. Then the villagers stepped in. They told Negan the truth. Letting him die wouldn't fix anything. Death won't undo damage or bring people back. If Negan wants to atone, he should live and repair what he broke with his own hands. That hit Negan hard. He realized he was wrong for thinking death equals forgiveness. He cried, fell to his knees, and thanked the villagers for giving him another chance to keep living. Meanwhile, Yuri's strength inside Ein started fading. She had pushed herself too far. Ein caught her in his arms and worried if he met Shadow back when he was powerless, he might have ended up like Negan. He started wondering if weakness is really a curse, or just something others exploit. Ein then made a decision. Demons who prey on weak people need to pay. The other spirits gathered to check on their sister. At the same time, Shadow tried one last escape, but Pina caught him and sealed him inside her barrier. Ein approached Shadow and demanded answers. Why are demons targeting him? Shadow resisted at first, but when he realized Ein truly would kill him, Shadow offered a deal. Information in exchange for freedom. Ein agreed. Shadow admitted he was ordered by the Demon King to eliminate Ein. But before he could finish explaining, Shadow suddenly exploded and died inside the barrier. Ursula realized what happened instantly. Someone placed a kill spell on Shadow, so if he revealed sensitive secrets, he'd die on the spot. That night, Ein made sure the village was stable again. Everyone thanked him. Mia was sad he was leaving, so Ein promised he'd come back to see her. Negan also came to thank Ein, and asked one final favor. Help them build enough support so the village can defend itself against monsters in the future. Everyone agreed. The next day, Ein got hit with a crazy surprise. The king decided to appoint Ein as the leader of Rishik village, and this happened because Negan requested it. Negan had even surrendered to authorities to pay for his mistakes, and asked the king to let Ein guide the village forward. There were plenty of objections. People didn't want someone like Ein getting that position, but the king believed Ein earned it because of everything he accomplished since becoming an adventurer. Ein couldn't refuse and felt like life was moving too fast. Jasper stepped in and said he'd handle noble paperwork and duties, while Ein should use his new status to gather information on secret labyrinths and build connections. Ein realized he accidentally gained way more responsibility than he ever asked for, but he accepted the role as Rishik's leader anyway. The king told him this was the first step toward being recognized as a true hero. Far away in the demon world, news spread fast. A human killed Shadow. Demons started doubting whether demon nobles even deserved their status. Then someone spoke out instantly. Duchess Ioana, the highest-ranked demon noble, cut him down without hesitation. She said she hates weak, arrogant demons. After that, she decided to use another demon as her puppet for transportation. Meanwhile, Echidna watched Ein through a crystal and realized she'd be in trouble if she couldn't defeat him soon. Ioana joined her and noticed Echidna's obsession with Ein. Echidna explained, Ein has special eyes, he couldn't have beaten Shadow and Falco if he was just human. Ioana got interested. She wanted to fight Ein herself to test him, but Echidna gave her a mission instead. Capture one of the World Tree spirits and bring it back. Echidna said, if Ioana finds one, she'll naturally cross paths with Ein anyway, because Ein is already searching for them. Alice quietly walked into Ein's room one evening, looking serious. The other sisters instantly thought she was finally going to confess her feelings to him, but instead, she surprised everyone by saying she had discovered something important about the World Tree spirits. She explained that she had been secretly using her special ability for a long time, scanning different regions of the world, and she had finally located another World Tree. The room filled with excitement. But before anyone could ask more questions, an unfamiliar voice suddenly joined the conversation. Ein froze when he noticed a beautiful, confident woman casually lying on his bed as if she owned the place. She smiled, praising Alice for finding them so quickly, and calmly introduced herself as Kirsch, the eldest sister among the spirits. Kirsch explained that a powerful demon was already moving toward one of the world trees. This enemy was far stronger than expected, and she needed Ain's help immediately. Ain assumed the danger was related to Alice's tree, but Alice quickly corrected him. The tree under threat belonged to their youngest sister, May. Alice revealed that May's world tree was hidden deep inside the Oedipus forest, a place that was not just dangerous but also a massive secret labyrinth. Ain believed May's guardian would protect her until they arrived, but Kirsch's expression darkened. She explained that May's original guardian had died long ago, while defending her from invaders. Because of her overwhelming strength, Kirsch had taken on the role of guarding May herself. She could leave her tree whenever she wanted, unlike the others, and had been secretly protecting May for a long time. However, Kirsch admitted that the body Ain was speaking to was only a temporary copy of her true form. Her real self was still guarding May, and this copy would not last much longer. Alice asked why Kirsch didn't simply defeat the demon on her own. Kirsch answered honestly, she could win if she released all her power, but doing so would destroy May's tree and wipe out the entire Rishik region along with it. That revelation shocked Ain. He also noticed the strange mask Kirsch wore and learned it was sealing her terrifying evil eye, which even she struggled to control. Realizing the risk, Ain made his decision. He would face the demon himself and protect both May and Kirsch. Ain soon arrived at the heart of the Oedipus forest. The air felt heavy and twisted. He could sense powerful curses everywhere, especially one that caused anyone who entered the forest to lose their sense of direction and wander forever. However, by combining his abilities with Alice's guidance, Ain was able to move straight toward the world tree without getting lost. Ursula warned him that the monsters in this forest weren't foolish. They could sense how strong he was and would avoid fighting him directly. Understanding this, Ain pushed his body to its limit and sprinted forward at full speed, planning to reach the tree before anything could block him. Suddenly, he sensed danger. An enormous swarm of black flies rushed toward him, darkening the sky. They were being controlled by a demon called Hornet, a Demoness-class enemy. She commanded her insects to surround Ain, intending to kill him slowly and enjoy the hunt. Before the swarm could reach him, Ain vanished in a flash. Hornet barely had time to react before Ain appeared behind her and drove his sword straight through her. He coldly warned her that he would show no mercy to demons. However, instead of dying, her body burst apart into countless flies, merging with the swarm above. Unbothered, Ain unleashed wide-area magic. Blades of energy rained from the sky, wiping out massive sections of the swarm at once. Realizing she was losing badly, Hornet opened a portal to escape, but the moment she stepped through, she met her end. A calm, terrifying woman named Yana shot her dead without hesitation, dismissing Hornet as useless. Yana then crossed into the human world and calmly introduced herself to Ain. He immediately recognized her as the demon Kirsch had warned him about. Despite using a powerful magic barrier, she was shocked that Ain could sense her presence so clearly. Yana mocked him, saying, dealing with humans was usually work for her subordinates. This time, she had come personally to kidnap a world tree spirit. That single statement enraged Ain. In an instant, he appeared behind her and launched a relentless attack. He kicked her repeatedly, refusing to give her time to recover. Strangely, Yana seemed to enjoy the pain at first, laughing through the damage. She retaliated by unleashing a storm of magical bullets, but Ain calmly blocked and deflected every attack with one strike. Yana panicked as she realized her reflexes and powers were failing her. Before she could escape, Ain severed her head. He explained that every blow he landed carried an attrition effect, steadily weakening her until she became weaker than the forest beasts. Furious and humiliated, Yana opened a demon gate and escaped, swearing revenge. Ursula urged Ain not to chase her and reminded him that May and Kirsch were the priority. Guided by Alice, Ain finally reached the world tree and stood before a massive cocoon glowing with soft light. Alice told him that the sisters were waiting inside. The cocoon slowly opened, revealing a peaceful village hidden within the tree itself. Kirsch greeted them warmly and led Ain inside. When he asked about May, Kirsch pointed him toward a small bed. There, Ain saw her. May was just a little girl, fast asleep. Trying not to wake her, Ain accidentally stepped on a branch. The loud snap startled May awake, and she immediately began screaming, convinced he was a villain sent to hurt her. Panicking, Ain screamed too, making the situation even worse. May burst into tears, and no matter how much Ain tried to calm her, his terrified expression only scared her more. Everything changed when Yuri rushed forward and hugged May tightly. Recognizing Yuri, May instantly stopped crying and clung to her happily. May shyly explained that she had been making flower crowns to welcome everyone but fell asleep before finishing. Yuri smiled, placed one of the flowers in her hair, and promised they would make more together later. May lit up, thrilled to share the same hobby. She apologized to Ein after learning he was the one who chased away the scary enemy. Soon after, she shyly asked to sit on his lap and be patted on the head like a big brother. Ein agreed, and while playing, he accidentally jumped far too high. Everyone expected Mei to cry again. Instead, she laughed. She loved it and proudly announced that Ein was now on her list of favorite people. The sisters sighed in relief. After leaving the forest, Ein returned to the old Negan mansion together with the spirits. Standing in front of the large, empty building, he told everyone that this place would now become their home. He wanted it to be a safe space where all of them could live together instead of staying separated. The moment he suggested cleaning the mansion, chaos broke out. Some of the spirits complained that cleaning was boring. Others tried to escape the work, and a few started arguing over who should do what. The once silent mansion quickly turned loud and messy. Ein sighed but stayed calm. He divided the work clearly, assigning each person a task and reminding them that Jasper would soon arrive with their luggage, so everything had to be done before that. Ein went to clean the mansion's old library with Alice. The room was filled with dust and stacked books from floor to ceiling. While organizing the shelves, Ein apologized to Alice for the fact that Akahane couldn't come with them. He promised her that one day, no matter how long it took, he would find a way to reunite her with her guardian. Alice realized that for the first time, she was alone with Ein. Feeling nervous but determined, she gathered her courage and decided to open her heart. She told him how much she enjoyed being around him, and how grateful she was for everything he had done for her and her sisters. Ein listened seriously and replied honestly, saying that he truly cared about her too. Alice misunderstood his words completely. She thought he meant romantic love, and immediately felt her heart burst with happiness. She struggled to hide her smile and tried to stay calm, but inside she was celebrating. Meanwhile, Ein had actually meant that he shared her love for books and knowledge. When he noticed the strange emotional aura filling the room, he felt confused but didn't question it. Elsewhere in the mansion, Kira went to check on Pina's progress. She found Pina relaxing comfortably while an illusion copy worked in her place. The moment Kira realized she had been tricked, her expression darkened. Without hesitation, she attacked the illusion, shattering it instantly. The real Pina panicked and begged for mercy, trying to explain that she was just taking a short break. Kuro wasn't impressed and scolded her harshly, forcing her back to work while Pina trembled in fear. Yuri and Ursula were assigned to clean the bathroom. While scrubbing the floor, Yuri slipped and lost her balance. Ursula reacted instantly, rushing to protect her but ended up hitting her own head hard against the wall. Yuri helped her up and gently told her to stop being so overly protective. She explained that she wanted to experience new things on her own, make choices for herself, and enjoy life freely. She said that ever since meeting Ein, she had discovered sides of herself she never knew existed. Listening to Yuri speak so confidently, Ursula finally understood that Yuri would be okay, as long as Ein stayed by her side. After finishing his tasks, Ein went to check on everyone. Instead, he was stunned when Yuri appeared in front of him wearing a beautiful, elegant dress. She shyly told him that the sisters had decided to throw a welcome party for Kirsch. Ein honestly complimented her, saying the dress suited her perfectly. Yuri blushed, smiled brightly, and pulled him by the hand toward the dining hall. Inside, he found all the girls dressed up and waiting for him. Yuri explained that the party wasn't just for Kirsch, it was also a way for the spirits to thank Ein for everything he had done for them. Surrounded by smiles, decorations, and laughter, Ein felt like he was living in a dream. Pina handed him a new suit and told him to change. When he came back wearing it, everyone praised him, calling him prince-like. Soon, music filled the room, and the sisters pulled him into dancing. The mansion, once empty and cold, was now filled with warmth and happiness. Later that evening, when things finally calmed down, Yuri spoke to Ein privately. She thanked him again for reuniting her with her sisters and told him how happy she was. She softly said she wished their lives could always be like this, peaceful and joyful. Ein smiled and replied that as long as he was with her and her sisters, every day would continue to get better. Hearing that, Yuri felt truly at peace, knowing that he felt the same way. And that's where this video ends. Watch this following video, and I'll be back with a new one.